be seated. Oh, what a beautiful sight you are. I welcome people at home, those who will be among us in cyberspace or whatever the best language is for that. And I'm excited as I think about this week and next week and the possibilities. If it's not raining, we'll meet outside, so dress accordingly, because I know at the end of the week it'll be a little cool, and it might be a little cool. That's one of the reasons we're doing 10:30. It is my desire and hope that we will continue to meet every Sunday we possibly can outside. We have bought equipment to be able to do that, and I'm excited for our team that brings us to people everywhere. We'll not have to take things down and go outside. We're even trying to get some extra power out there. So we're constantly adapting to the world that we live in today. Welcome. All of you here and afar as you are part of worship this day. I was thinking that, and thank you, Kevin, for the many things, especially that Friday poem. I'm big on that one. You should have been with me coming back from our daughters this week, and we stopped at a big truck stop on this side of Columbia, maybe 15, 20 miles. And I went in and got coffee. Diane beat me out the door, and there was a lady there at the counter. And she was saying, "Have a blessed day," and giving me all kind of God talk. So I just figured she wanted me to preach a little bit. So here we went at it, and I was telling her all about Friday and my excitement around the season and who we are. One of my greatest concerns for me, and it could be for you, but you are where you are. But one of my greatest concerns are the things that I think I know and I could be wrong about. The things I know about in faith that I might have missed to some degree or to a larger degree. And all I have to do is go to Palm Sunday and all the excitement wrapped around Palm Sunday. And I think about Jesus going into Jerusalem. The people paid absolutely no attention to him being on a donkey. In their minds, it was a white stallion. Okay? They're throwing their garments and their palm branches on the road because they are expecting Jesus to do what they expect him to do, not what he does. And I think about how we control this Jesus in the ways that we do. We allow him to be what we allow him to be in our own minds, and perception just as well be 100%. Because whatever you think of me, or your neighbor, or your boss, or whatever you think of that, just as well to be it, because you have decided. They'd already decided whenever Jesus came into Jerusalem that he was that conquering king. That was the messianic figure that they wanted him to be because of their own needs, their own wants, their own desires. And that was that Jesus would put together that great army to take on the Roman Empire and to put the people back in place. And those who think they're right can be dangerous. And they were that weak in so many ways. And so you had those who were cheering and you had those who were jeering. Those who didn't want him to do what he had planned to do. Those who were comfortable with their job. Those who were comfortable with their lives, with their place in community. And everything was fine, and they didn't want what this conquering king might bring to the moment. And so as we journey down the next 7 days, 8 days, if you want to count 2 Sundays, today and next week, I want you to think about how much you really know about who this Jesus is. Because it will turn on you. It will turn on you because God will call you out to be more than you're willing to let God make out of you. He'll make you give more than you'll give of your total being, of your total self. We have some great givers here. And Diane's always saying, celebrate the ones that are here And don't worry about the ones who didn't come and put out any pine straw. Okay? And so I do. I celebrate those of you who were here and helped and worked hard, because it is beautiful. And it just, we take good care of our church. And I like that. I like for people to ride by and say, boy, they must have something going on over there. And we do have something going on. And we like who we are. But don't forget how we got to this place. And don't ever forget that you can be wrong on a few things. And the reason that you want to be wrong, because you don't want to change it. You just don't. You're not going to tithe, some of you. Some of you are never going to put out any pine straw. Some of you are never going to go either way for the gospel. And some of you are eat up with it. Those are the ones I love the best. The ones who just are always looking for that next opportunity. And it's just fabulous. It truly is. And I celebrate the committed among us. We're journeying down this week. Some people call it Palm Sunday. I say it's the beginning of Passion Week. It's beginning of that time whenever we look at Jesus and how he lived out that last week, as Kevin said a while ago, because he knew where he was going and nobody else did. They had decided where he was going, but they did not know what was going to take place that week. And so never forget, we have to get through Friday in order to get to Resurrection Sunday. So Thursday night, we'll hear more about Friday probably than we will foot washing. Now, if y'all want me to do a foot washing, we'll do it. But I want to know how many of you want to do it. Now, y'all call me, and I'll change my sermon for Thursday night. If not, we're going to talk probably more about Friday, because that's a special day in our lives. But you know, I think about who has the greatest influence on the world. Who are the greatest people of the world? I think about the little people. And so I like the little people in the store. We have one of those today. But isn't it an interesting thing? Out of all the wealthy people that put all of that money in the plate, in the temple that day, none of them are remembered, but we remember one old widow woman that puts in 1 or 2 pennies. I can hear Sam Strickland right now. He was our treasurer in Clayton. He's the one that left the offering on the top of the car and drove home. That's when we fired him. All right? And so Sam said, you know, you can talk about the widow's mite all you want to, but that hamburger money won't pay the bills. We got to have somebody put a check in there that amounts to something, you know. And so I hear Sam, but I think about that widow woman. What was her name anyway? It's not in there, so don't think too hard. And I think about what she gave, which was all that she had. And then I think about the great preacher that Jesus was. Thousands of people came. And they were listening to the word, and they were going over to Jesus, these practical few that he had with him. And they said, you need to come to the benediction. You need to draw this thing to a conclusion. We got to get rid of these people, because they're getting hungry and they're going to want to eat. And we don't have this, that, and that. And there's this one little boy. One little boy. He won't nobody. Nobody knew him. His name isn't in the book. He said, well, here, if this will help, I will give you my few fish and my few loaves. Just a kid, just a little boy, gives all that he has and puts it in the hands of Jesus. We remember him, don't we? Huh? What's his name? I don't know. It's not in there. Think about it. Think about it. And think about the soldier. I wonder if it's the one that I'm going to talk about the story this morning. But think about the soldier that was a part of the crucifixion of the Lord Jesus. And he is standing at the foot of the cross. as Jesus is hung up there and he finally has that aha moment. You know about the aha moment? That's the moment you say yes to God in your life. That's the moment that you say yes to Jesus. That just maybe God did send his only son to die for my sins. Now I know. And that centurion looks up and basically says, truly this is the Son of God. And we kill him. He didn't say that. I just, I'm helping. What was his name? I don't know. You know, we'll always remember Billy Graham. We'll always remember the Oral Roberts. We'll remember down in Houston, Texas, that great leader. We'll remember the great leader of the biggest church we have over in St. Louis. Those names won't be lost. I thought about it. I was preaching this sermon while I was out there among you heathens yesterday putting out pine. I did this side from this corner right here all the way up to right there. Don't look close at it, all right? Who's going to remember some little preacher from some little country church outside of Shallotte, North Carolina, that put pine straw under the flowers? My name won't be remembered. You know, and I think about that, and I think about who is so significant. Well, let's kind of go to the story. I'm talking about people whose names aren't even mentioned sometime and certainly aren't remembered in the scriptures, whose lives we know mostly by the reflection on the light of Jesus in their lives. I'm interested in those little people, and they describe most of us. Most of us are not rich. Most of us put our pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters in the plate like the widows might. Most of us are not going to add a wing onto this church. I'll wait till I'm gone before you do such as that. And we're not going to be remembered for buying a big church bus or 4 or 5. We're not going to be remembered for that. We're just going to be the ones that came up here and cut the grass and weed-eated. And we are going to buy some pews, and that's in the process now of happening. We're going to do those little everyday things that make the church, that make it a place and a haven of peace and hope for those who come in. Most of us won't be remembered. You might remember your great-grandparents by name, but how many of you do? You know? Do any of you... Bobby, do you remember Gay's great-great-grandparents? You probably do. Now, Alton Milliken says that he's kind of like that guy out there from the Outer Banks, said that his uncle, this is about like what a story Alton would tell you, he said that his great-great-great-great jumped off a boat about 2 miles out there in the ocean, had a pipe in his mouth, swam to shore, and whenever he got to shore, the pipe was still burning. Now, if you want to believe that, you just go right ahead. But most of us won't remember your great-great-grandparents. You might have their name down somewhere. I want us to know that it's the little people from the past who has made the church triumphant that it is today, and I'm interested in these little people. If Jesus doesn't mean something for the little people, then he doesn't mean much at all as far as I'm concerned, because I'm one of them. So again and again, some little people step into the spotlight and they become very, very significant. I can think in my own life in 42 years, many times at Christmas time, I've had somebody to pass by me close to Christmas and hand me a folded up $100 bill. I put it in my pocket and they say Merry Christmas and thank you. I can't remember who they were by names, but I can tell you this. I've got some coat hangers that a blind woman wove. These are simple wire coat hangers. These aren't something out of some catalog. These like shirts come on, all right? And she braided 4 or 5 of those. She didn't have $1 to her name. But she gave to her preacher for Christmas. I still have them. It was Curtis David's mama. She was a poor old widow woman, blind, couldn't see anything out there in the country. But I remember her. She drove me on as I dealt with who I dealt with, mostly great people outside of Laurinburg, North Carolina. And then we put the tree up. We had a beautiful tree this year. Diane does most of it. You know, it's always that time you got to get all the boxes and all the stuff. Now, we only have one person that's crazy in the church. That'd be Gay Stanley. She's sitting over here. But we put up a tree. She knows what I'm talking about. She puts up half of Shallotte. And we get those things out. And I help make sure everything's in place. And I tell her, I said, you just have to put what you're going to put because you got all this, what you're going to put. Every year, Sarah's spoon dolls go on the tree. Her income was $110 a month. And she made us 10 or 12 spoon dolls. Out of spoons, you can buy 1,000 of them for $10. I'm talking about little plastic, break very easily spoons. She even had a slip, a petticoat, what they gonna call it, under the dress of the little girls and all. She was fat. They go on the tree. We got those things over 40 years ago from a little old lady who was a widow who didn't have any money. But she put $10 a month in the church and she gave us corn shucking dolls to my daughter and spoon dolls for our tree. We still have them. Other people have given us other things that we've forgotten about. But those were some of the little people that made me go home, like with Sarah, and write a paper for Old Testament, or for theology, or for church history, or whatever it was. It's just those everyday people who come on Saturday morning and put pine straw out that make a difference in the life of the church so much, y'all. It's Passion Week. As Jesus moves toward the cross, the great drama of our redemption is being worked out. And I'm always interested in those who come volunteer. You know, next week we're going to have a whole lot of family here. I think even my sisters and niece are going to drive down here and worship with us. I told Diane, I said, the kids are coming, that'll be 5, and us is 7. Now I'm bringing 3 more family members. You got to cook, baby. Hey, the people want to eat after church, don't they? Yeah. And she said, great, Diane's just a fabulous woman in so many ways. I'll hear something about that, I'm sure. And it's true, though, isn't it, Jeff? And so I think about how we have people who are drafted and those who are volunteers. And I think about how whenever Jesus was beaten so bad and it came time to go up on Golgotha, there were 3 of them. Now the first 2 boys that went up there, those first 2 boys that went up there, those first 2 guys, they got to the top. They were strong like you, John. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir. I saw Peggy laugh. I'm not saying that. And then Jesus couldn't get up there. That beat him so bad, or he was so weak physically like me, he couldn't drag the thing up the hill. The soldier got so aggravated about it, or thought, had compassion. You look at it like you want to. He knew that Jesus was never going to get that cross up that hill. So here's this guy. Now we do get his name. Simon of Cyrene. He's there that week for all that goes on in the Jewish community. or he's there for business, and he is lured somehow out of curiosity, out of something, we don't know squat about that man other than his name, and he's the father of a couple of them. Simon of Cyrene, the father of Alexander and Rufus. And he's standing there. He doesn't want anything to do with any of this. And all of a sudden, this soldier points him out, and he says, you get over here. He must have looked like he could get the cross up the hill, or at least help Jesus carry the thing up there. And so he got drafted into the thing. Whatever happened to him anyway? Did he become one of the 12? I don't think so. Did he ever do anything else that doesn't record it in Scripture? He was one of those little people who had an opportunity for the spotlight of Jesus to shine down upon him and have that one little moment, which became a very significant moment. We know nothing of where he came from or anything about him after that. We just know what he did. He's remembered by name, even his children. And the Roman soldier pointed toward the crowd, and he grabbed him and he pulled him in there. Now Simon is remembered by as many by us because of what he did. And I want to think about that. I think about my friend Wally and the fabulous job he does of teaching and the opportunity is to the people. Simon did not choose the cross. The cross chose Simon. You know? Simon never chose the cross. The cross chose Simon, and I think about that. The cross was placed upon his shoulders because a Roman put it there. I think about the sacrifices of the little people. On some days in the church, we celebrate the saints. I've told you about two in my life, and I think about one more. He and his wife's oldest daughter was my neighbor in Laurinburg. I still talk to her. She's about 10 years older than me, one of those ageless people. Don't you hate people like that? They're in the 80s. They had never aged. Husband's been dead. And there she is, just going wide open. Her daddy, her mama did the music. Her name was Ruby. I called her Rube. I was so excited when I found Jesus in my heart. I joined the choir. I couldn't sing. Didn't seem to matter. They let me in. And I sang in that choir. And I said, come on, Rube. And just like I tell Sarah today, low in the grave, he sang. He lay. Jesus. Every Easter, Rube would have him sing it for Richard. I was a part of that. And I think about almost 50 years ago, we had our first child, a little girl. That's who we went to see in the mountains this week. And when Wendy was born, here comes Albert, Rube's husband. And he brings us a book. It is a book on raising children in the faith. And it's a recording book. It's a whole lot of things. And he said, your church wants you to have this. Your church wants to give you this as a gift. And he worked for the railroad in the storehouse, and I know what that means because I'm from there. And at night, when he got off work, he went home and he cleaned up. And he brought a book to Richard and Diane's house in Hamlet. He was one of the champions of the faith. When he died, they had the funeral over at First Church because they knew fellowship wouldn't hold the people. He was just a railroad man that got dirty in a khaki uniform, but when he went home and cleaned up, he went out in community and he made a big difference, and he was a hero in my life like Jackie's daddy, Glenn, was a hero in my life. He too was a railroad man, smelling those fumes, traveling and doing what he did. Those are the people that will be forgotten by so many but remembered in the heart of those that we are close to. And I think about another person that I had breakfast with up here in the Purple Onion, who was here from Kentucky on vacation. I knew him years ago. Jeff and Susan down at Holden Beach, having a good time. We meet for breakfast. They have a son with Down syndrome. And I asked him, I said, Jeff, how's your son getting along? Oh, we'll call him Jeff Jr. He said, little Jeff, why, he's working at McDonald's. He's working at McDonald's and he cleans up tables and takes out garbage and all. He is the ambassador for McDonald's. People go in looking for Junior. They go in there because there's this kid that we call special. It did a shame they had a baby with Downs. Not Jeff, not Susan, not Jeff Jr., not McDonald's, the little people. Who are you in the scheme of Passion Week? And what difference are you going to make as you move to Calvary? And all that's about. Jeff and Susan are two of my heroes, and they made a big difference in their life. I'm glad that Simon of Cyrene was there on that occasion when Jesus moved toward Calvary. I was glad that he was there to pick that cross up and carry it on. I'm glad I know people like him, people who might have been drafted by their parents. Are we going to church today? I know none of you ever did that, but I did. When I was a kid, I some days didn't want to go. They may have been having a baseball game down there at 9 o'clock in the morning. There I'm going to Sunday school. You know, kicking and screaming, Mama made me go. Y'all don't know my mama. She's been dead 21 years. She was a mom. She worked for Belt. Remember, where's Johnny? Johnny, remember when Belt paid you in those little envelopes? Cash. You didn't get much, did you? I hope those last checks you got were a little bit bigger. All right. John's retired from Belt. My mama made me go. She won't be remembered that much. She was a part of the church calling me to be standing here today. Amen. Just a simple little old woman from Hamlet. I used to call her Miss Hamlet. She loved Hamlet like it was somewhere. Good place to be from today. Shalotte's a great place to be. Hamlet didn't do what y'all have done. But Mama loved it to death, and she loved that church. She loved every preacher she ever had. She's just a little old lady, ultimately a widow lady, but one of the champions of faith. And she was a part of calling out her son. I want you to think about who you are. You don't have to be educated. You don't have to have some great calling to put pine straw around flowers, to make a phone call, to write a card, to do something that will make a difference. I've been texting back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with Rich about Miss Ruth. She has gone down a very difficult road, but she's getting better. And my biggest word to him is, because she's one of the champions of my life, a widow at a young age and now 99. And Rich and her were about ready to join before this pandemic, you know. And I said, let me know when I can go see your mom. I want to go see your mom. I want to kiss her cheek. I want to hug her. I want to love your mom. His last word back was, what time is church Easter Sunday morning? Me and my sister plan to be there. Just little people, we are, aren't we? Making a huge difference in the life of faith. I don't care if you're a Simon. I don't care if you're the widow's mite. I don't care if you're blind, if you're poor, who you are. Everybody has something to offer to Jesus. And kingdom building that we need to be about. This is Passion Week, y'all. We'll meet Thursday evening at 6 o'clock. And I want you to come. I want you to come prepared. We're not going to do a foot washing. Just wash your feet yourself. But come and and be a part, because we're getting close. And you can't get to next Sunday without going through Thursday and Friday. Thanks be to God for the story. All right, I want us to have a moment of prayer, and then we're going to sing our final hymn. Holy God, I think about who Jesus was and all the people around him who were satisfied about this conquering king. And then there were those who jump out, who remind us of true faith and faithfulness to what you would have us to be. And I like to think that's who we are. Those everyday, ordinary people who have had their hearts and minds touched by the Master. Let us share Christ's holy prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Were you there? Let's stand together. Hope to see you on Thursday.
Amen.
I enjoyed meeting your son, Josh. I know y'all excited to get them closer to home.
He's got all of his mom's good qualities and none of his dad's bad.
I understand. Well, I'm listening to him. That's how I slept in the truck a couple of nights last week. I'm just telling you.